suck it up, to endure something painful, unpleasant, or otherwise dissatisfactory, to deal with or recover from some hardship or stress. Suck it up, endure something painful. Well, welcome to another episode of the Suck It Up Man podcast. Wayne and I are joining you tonight. We don't have any guests this evening because we're going to be talking quite a bit about poker as the World Series of Poker is coming up. And last week, I had my annual or semi-annual, I guess you should say, meeting with my attorney. It's something that I do once a year just to get all my shit in a row. Wayne, do you have an attorney that you have on board or retainer or anything like that?
Not technically, but my uncle is an attorney. So in the past, when I've gotten quite a bit of speeding tickets or anything else of the sort, I can always call my uncle to kind of come bail me out. But no, not exactly. It sounds like the same way you do.
Yeah. So I do a meeting with my attorney about once a year just to catch up on different things that I want to chat about. And one of the things that I got reminded when I was meeting with my attorney is, as a convicted felon, of course, I don't own any firearms, but in the state of Michigan, you have to transfer all of your firearms when you're a convicted felon to somebody else. So we went to the sheriff's office today to get it transferred, and you have to get a background check and all this other stuff. And the sheriff actually denied doing a background check on my wife because we live in the same household. And I was not there when they did it. I was out in the car, and I kind of insisted for my wife to go in there again and like lose her shit, because it's no business for the sheriff to ask where, the purchase of transfer or the firearms are going to be stored. It's like, hey, asshole, we have multiple houses. We have a studio. She can keep it in her car, whatever the case may be. I don't have to have access to it. That's not a reason for you to think you're legitimately not going to allow my wife the transfer ownership of my firearms. And it just really pissed me off, because here I am trying to do the right thing, get reminded by my attorney that, hey, by the way, if your pistols are still in your name, you need to transfer them to somebody. And then I go and do that, and none other than the law enforcement officer is like, oh, we're not going to do that today. And I wasn't there. Like I said, I was in the car. Otherwise, I would have lost my shit. But I know every state's a little bit different. But that was one of the things I did today. And I was like just running errands, and I was like, what the hell? It's weird how you try to do things the right way, and you try to do things, legally or ethically. And it's like, sometimes it just doesn't work out. Have you had any experiences like that at all?
I have not. I've never owned a firearm. I have shot a firearm probably 2 or 3 times, but I don't know. Just where I grew up, in Jersey, I don't think it's really as big of a thing as it is in, say, the South, or, you're in the North, but kind of like the North or Midwest. I know that's more of a common thing for you folk, but it's not really a thing where I'm from. I mean, I've shot them. It's cool, but I don't really see the need to have a firearm. But I know, if you have a firearm, that's your business, and you're right.
Well, and just so our viewers and listeners know, I carried a firearm on me for about 12 years. I was a licensed NRA instructor, and Wayne was even had experiences with me traveling with a firearm where I'd put it under my pillow and I'd go to sleep at night and stuff like that. And he's like, why do you do that? And I'm like, just in case I need it at 3 a.m. when I wake up. But obviously, doing things in a safe and ethical manner are always important. I used to tell people when it came to firearms that there are 2 types of people who carry firearms around. And first of all, I didn't know you'd only shot a couple firearms. Otherwise, I would have taken you to the gun range and, showed you how to shoot them. I want to be able to shoot them myself, being a convicted felon. But is if you're going to carry a firearm, there's 2 types of people in the world: those who have had accidental discharges, okay, and those who will have accidental discharges. And I used to preach that all the time in my firearms class. And I think it was a couple of years ago, in my own house, my wife was out of town. I grabbed my firearm. I had somebody who was saying some things like he was going to come over to my house and burn it down, and all sorts of random weird shit that goes on in my life. So I remember grabbing it and I was like, I normally don't bring this upstairs with me, but as I grabbed it in my place, it accidentally went off, which is the
Mm.
most important rule about firearms, which is always point it in a safe direction. Certainly something we don't have to deal with in poker very much, but yeah, that's, it's one of those things, even somebody who has fired 100,000 rounds down range, it'll happen. So just a public safety announcement. But moving on right from there, we're going to dive into some poker. So right now, the WSOP Europe is going on in Prague. Have you been keeping up to date on anything that's going on over there?
I have. I was actually going to ask you if you've watched any of the Martin Cabril vlogs or Ryan DePaulo vlogs from over there.
I did not realize Martin Cabral had a vlog. I do watch Ryan DePaulo because a lot of people tell me, they're like, you really remind me of Ryan DePaulo. I don't know if it's just because we both have long hair and like a goatee, or if
Hmm.
because we have similar personalities. We're like, I fucking hate poker. I quit. I quit. I quit. But yeah, his last three sentences on his last vlog was, I quit poker. I quit poker. I quit poker. And I thought, yes, somebody else who's doing it right, just like me. Is that wrong for me to say when I witness somebody? And I respect the shit out of Ryan DePaulo. Obviously, he had one of the greatest vlogs, in my opinion, winning an online bracelet. I actually
Hmm.
showed that video to my wife last week when we were playing games. I said, hey, you have to watch this. I said, this happened 9 fucking years ago or 8 years ago or whatever it was. And I said, you have to watch this because this is absolutely hilarious. And the part where he wins the bracelet, opens up the door and goes, I'm the king of the world, or whatever the hell he says. I'm a god. And there's like a lady pushing a grocery cart because it's in a Whole Foods parking lot. And she just like glances over and just keeps walking. Dude, it was the funniest thing in the world. Have you seen that video?
Yeah, and they actually referenced it recently. I don't know. Did you see his latest vlog that he posted? I think either today or yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, it was today. It was about 6 hours ago. I did end up watching it. Yeah, where they referenced that
Hmm.
during his live stream because he was featured on the main table. But the hands that I want to talk about are not necessarily the hands. There was a situation that popped up. Obviously, Pot Limit Omaha, I consider, is more our main event, if you will. There's a $5,300 Pot Limit Omaha tournament going on, and there is a total of 379 entries. And there is two things that occurred. And we'll talk about the first one. Bryson, if you'd like to pull up figure one, I just took a screenshot of it because instead of playing the whole 30-second clip, if you just look at the screenshot, what it is Nikki P, okay, is in the big blind and he has one big blind left, okay? So he
Hmm.
has one big blind ante, one big blind left. He's essentially all in. The guy to his right, which is the guy you can see there that has, I don't know, his own fucking zip code of chips, basically. He ends up folding on the bubble in the small blind for a half a big blind. And the Twitterverse or the Xverse is going fucking nuts. Most of the people, including Joey Ingram, I'll give him a shout out, are saying this is standard practice because as a huge stack, you want to apply pressure on the bubble so that way you can pick up more pots. I, I'm looking at it and I'm like, you got a guy over here who's got what, 3.5 million in winnings in Hendon Mob. Now, I hope that reminds you of what your New Year's resolution is, which is never look up somebody's Hendon Mob when you're playing at the table with them.
Yep.
But people know who Nikki P is, especially for Pot Limit Omaha. Like the guy, you have an absolute fucking crusher. I know you're on the bubble, but how do you find a fold there? And I will admit, on X, and you can go ahead and take that down now, Brayson, but you just see his chip stack on X. Probably 75% of the poker players on X are like, this is standard play. Y'all just need to shut the fuck up. And I'm like, what? I'm like, it's a half a big blind. When are you? I understand you want to keep the bubble going, but when are you ever a half a big blind to essentially win two and a half big blinds, any random four cards, and you're telling me it's better EV to fold so you can put pressure on players versus getting rid of a crusher? What are your thoughts on this? I mean, this is the first time you're hearing about it, right?
Yeah, first time. And once you said, okay, he only had to call a half a big blind more, my thoughts went to the same thoughts that I'm sure most people are going to have is like, okay, obviously you call with pretty much anything you have, maybe except like quad deuces or quad threes or something. Maybe then you can be like, okay, I can't literally improve. You know, more than likely he's going to beat my pair of twos or threes. But other than that, yeah, you would call. But then when you made the point that Joey Ingram pointed out, it actually does make sense, because I have seen, I think this was last December, maybe 2 Decembers ago. I remember I won that ticket. We for the WPT, they had this big thing of raffle tickets, and I ended up pulling the golden ticket, as they called it, which got me into this free roll, which was like a $5 million free roll or something. WPT was promoting their new WPT global online site. So as a result, they had this like huge free roll, which a lot of people had to enter a bunch of like satellites to get into it. You couldn't actually buy directly into it. I didn't do any of the online stuff. I just pulled a random ticket and I ended up playing it. And I remember being in that exact same situation, not with the, one big blind or whatever, but I had probably the chip leader of the tournament at my table. There's maybe like, I want to say maybe like 1,200 like 1,200 something people left. It paid a lot. It actually paid like 20%. But this guy was literally just like raising every hand. And I think a couple of hands, he just showed it like kind of just like rubbing it in like, yeah, because literally some of the people at the table, you can tell they were just like happy to be there. They're saying, oh man, I qualified with like a $3 sit and go, because the mint cash, I want to say the min cash was maybe $1,500, right? So if you buy into it and you min cash, not a big deal. But if someone qualifies for $3, $5, $10, and they're winning $1,500, that's obviously a huge deal, right? So there's people openly at the table, and I don't know why they would ever do this, but they're saying, oh my God, like, yeah, I would be tickled. Like this one lady is from like the South. She's like, I'd be tickled pink if I got that mint cash, because I've only been in for $5. And like, I'm like, why would you ever say this? Because this guy with the big stack, he's literally just like raising every single hand, picking up blinds, because it's literally like 4 or 5 from the money. And of course we're going hand for hand, and they have to stop the room and stuff like that. So I guess I could see both sides of it, but yeah, if he's a crusher, over 3 million in Hendon Mob, then yeah, you probably would lean more towards calling. But if it's an unknown player, I mean, even if he is a crusher, right? Like anything can happen, as Doyle said, chip in a chair, right? But most likely he's probably not going to do too much. Even if he gets in the money, he's probably going to be eliminated one of the first couple of people. But with him being a crusher, I would probably say you lean towards calling and obviously trying to bust this good player.
I'm gonna say 3 things on this topic. First of all, for everybody listening, and I appreciate your comparison, Wayne. You're comparing a free roll to a 5,300 euro, $6,000 USD American buy-in tournament, right?
Yep.
So, yep. And it's Pot Limit Omaha. How many first-time tournament players are in a $5,000 Pot Limit Omaha tournament? Right? Fucking 0. Maybe 1 out of 379. Maybe. I doubt it. Like maybe there's a guy who just plays cash and he's like, fuck it, I'm having a good week. But a $5,300 buy-in tournament versus a free roll, huge difference, right? Like I could totally see the and here's the second thing that I'll say on that. I have come back twice in my career with a half of a big blind and finished second in a tournament. I've done that twice. Once was when I was almost out of the tournament, out of the money. And then another one was like I was all the way down to 3-handed. But even before that, earlier in the tournament, I was down to like 1.5 or 2 big blinds with like 13 people to go, and then ran it back up. Anytime you have an opportunity to knock out anyone else, you take it. Like that's just the bottom line. I understand people are like, oh, it's a positive EV spot because you can really apply pressure. It's like, I don't know. I mean, obviously the guy who's sitting there with whatever 300,000 chips or however many he had. I mean, I looked at it and I thought it was 1.1 million is what I thought he had, but maybe I was wrong. But I looked at that and I was just like, how the fuck do you ever fold? And there's a lot of people who are saying it's collusion. Now, I don't believe it's collusion, honestly, but I mean, it looks horrible for poker. Like anybody, this is the problem with doing things nerdy, fucking GTO, blah, 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 jerky, whatever. Okay. This is the problem I have with it. when I'm Joe Sixpack or I'm my brother with fuck you money, which by the way, congratulations on his divorce. If I'm my brother with fuck you money and I'm watching poker and I see this fold, it turns me off. It says I don't want to. I don't want to watch poker. I don't want to play it. If people are gonna fucking, they don't have enough balls to say, hey, this is the proper way to play. This is the ethical way to play. Whatever, you're supposed to knock your opponent out. I think it hurts poker when people see that. I think that's my biggest point. Well, my biggest point is get the fucking crusher out, right? Or just knock anybody out. Because if you give me a half a big blind, I don't give a shit. I am going to nurse the shit out of that half a big blind. I will make sure not only do I cash, I'm going to see if I can ladder up a couple times. And pot limit Omaha, man, it just literally takes. I tell people all the time, you're about 2 double ups from being the chip leader in pot limit Omaha. Well, when you're down to a 1 big blind, you're a few more away from that. But really, you're only maybe 6 or 7 double ups from being the fucking chip leader. So I understand Joey Ingram and I respect him a lot. I understand all those other people that posted on X, but I wholeheartedly fucking disagree with all of you, and you're all wrong. I hate to say that. I don't hate to say it. It's how it is. But am I completely out of line here? I mean, it's a $5,300 pot limit Omaha tournament. If I was a short stack in there, I probably would have. I don't know. I don't want to say I'd lose my mind because in a tournament, you have that tournament mentality and you have the grinding and you're just like, I'm just going to stick to my own shit. But a lot of the short stacks were like screaming collusion because it is a famous poker player. I don't think it was collusion, but fuck you, the guy who's folded out of the small blind. That's my thoughts on it. Because yeah, it's just it does more harm for poker than good. Like we got these good things that are coming up about poker. Like the WSOP is now going to be aired on ESPN. Thank the fucking Lord, because I remember watching that every July, and that was a huge deal. And now they don't do it, but now they're getting back to having it on ESPN. They're going to feature every single day, and then they're going to have the 20-day delay from July 13th or whatever to August, who knows, for it, so that way they can sell more rights and advertising and stuff like that. But in all seriousness, yeah, it just does so much harm for poker. That's kind of my thought process on that. You are hurting poker when you fold with a half of a big blind to knock somebody out who's got $3 million in Hendon Mob winnings. And even without his Hendon Mob winnings, I don't give a fuck if the guy, it's of his first tournament. Knock the fucking guy out, right? I mean, that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, and then this is something we talked about in a previous episode where a lot of times it's going to come down to what is good for the game overall versus what is best for me, right? So maybe, and that's obviously in that situation, the guy was thinking more about what's the best situation for me, right? He's got a zip code full of chips, as you mentioned. Maybe his thought process was like, hey, if I give this guy his, my small blind plus the ante, he's most likely going to fold his small blind. I have another, 6 or 7 hands until this guy's going to be all in again. He figures, hey, if I can pick up the blinds 3 or 4 of those times, whatever, right? I don't agree with it, but like that's obviously the thinking he had. It's the same thing with the tanking, right? Like the last couple of years, they've implemented these shot clocks, right? Because I didn't really follow Hold'em much, but you always heard about like, oh, this tanking has just gotten ridiculous, right? I remember the main event, Heads Up, it was like 2 or 3 years ago where the guy literally tanked for 20 minutes. I think there was like a viral thing. Eric Lindgren said he literally had a neighbor that was moving and he literally was watching the first minute or 2 of the hand. He went outside, helped the guy move his couch and whatever other stuff. He came back and the hand was still going on. And everyone was like, what the hell is going on, right? Like, why would you want to watch 20 minutes of tanking? And obviously, that's just a one-off example. That's not the norm, but still, if
that was a main event, and I think there was like 3 queens on the board, and he had a queen, so he did have trips. But he was like, if I call this and I'm good, I win the main event. Like that's huge, right? That is a little bit different because it's like this is a couple $1 million decision. Like the Heads Up first versus second at the main event is like, I don't know, 10 million versus 6 million or some shit. It's a couple $1 million decision that deserves a fucking 20-minute tank, right?
Yeah.
Like that I can understand that, but like Yeah, I guess I get what you're saying where the big stack, and maybe this is why I fucking hate tournaments. Pardon my vulgarity, but this is why I'm such a better cash game player, because when I see shit like this, I'm like, who in their right mind thinks this is a good play? Oh, all the nerdy tournament guys. And, I mean, I guess I'll study it. So we're going into the WSOP coming up. So I got to look at if I'm fucking crushing the tournament and I see a guy with one big blind and the big blind and we're on the bubble, do I give him a walk? Wayne, I sat to the left of you in a mixed game tournament. What the fuck do you think I'm going to do?
Yep.
I'm
Yeah.
going to give it
Yeah.
all in.
Of course, which we have many times, right? So, yeah, but that situation is going to pop up all the time. And, back to Martin Cabral. I'm not going to spoil the vlogs for you, but you know who he is, right?
Oh yeah, not like this, not like these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
Euro Pro.
I shouldn't say everybody hates him, but I know Nikki P did an interview with Poker News yesterday on their vlog, and he talked about how he thought Martin Cabral was an asshole and a couple other people were assholes. One thing I appreciated about Nikki P is at least he was honest. Whether you like him or not, I've never personally met him, but at least he's honest. Of course, he's from New York, so he's calling everybody assholes, which I think is pretty standard because isn't everybody from New York an asshole? But
Yeah.
no, but yeah, no, I don't know. I just yeah. So he talked about that on the Poker News podcast yesterday, and yeah, I don't know. I'm just, but go on, Martin Cabral. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. So yeah, so if you don't know who he is, yeah, not like this. He has like these funny sayings, and he's kind of loud, obnoxious, right? But yeah, so you didn't know, but yeah, he started filming kind of almost Daniel Negreanu style, right? How Negreanu does that for the regular World Series and WSOP Bahamas. Martin Cabral kind of said, okay, Negreanu said, hey, he's not going to WSOP Europe. Here's my chance to kind of, throw my hat into the ring of the vlogging space. So yeah, he's been doing these kind of Negreanu style vlogs, and I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I'm going to kind of give you my range of emotions and like different thoughts I had going through the vlog. So, and to give you some context, I've watched more poker vlogs in the last week between Martin Cabral and Ryan DePaulos than I probably have in the previous like 6 to 8 months, because I don't know. I guess since I started vlogging over 5 years ago, I tend to not watch as many vlogs because I didn't want to inadvertently steal something that other people did. So back in the day before I started vlogging, I would watch Brad Owen, Andrew Nemi, Matt Vaughn, kind of all the original OG vloggers, but then I kind of stopped. So anyway, Martin Cabral, he kind of opens up, and like his first video, he kind of goes into the King's Casino, and they have this like big shiny case with all the WSOP bracelets, right? So there's 15 events. And then I think the 14 of the bracelets all look pretty similar, kind of basic bracelet. But then the main event one, of course, is bigger, and it's got like all these diamonds in it. And, I kind of, before this vlog started, I'm like, okay, yeah, like I'm just going to watch it like it's Hold'em. And I know he's playing tournaments, but I'm like, I'm just going to stick to my guns of like playing cash. Maybe I'll dabble in a tournament or two. But I saw that and I said, man, like, that would be really cool to win a bracelet. So then I'm like, okay, back to tournaments. But then, without spoiling it, I see, him and a lot of these tournaments now are unlimited entries. I don't know if it's going to be like that at the series, but obviously GG Poker is a online poker site, right? So you're seeing these tournaments are essentially as close as possible to an online tournament while being live, right? Because now, like as we talked about on the WSOP Live app, before if you busted, you would have to like go wait in line. There might be a couple hundred people. Now, okay, hey dealer, can you bust me out of the app? Okay, cool. Okay, boom, rebought, and you might literally get the exact same seat. Like, so it's very quick. So I did research on these tournaments. A lot of them are unlimited rebuys. So I see the vlogs of Ryan DePaulo and Martin Cabral, and I'm like, man, like I remember last year, that was me. That was me, just like, it's almost the sunken cost fallacy, right? Which of course means once you have something invested into something, you just say to yourself, okay, well, screw it. What's another couple bullets? And obviously you saw this firsthand where I busted a bullet in the what was it? The mixed triple draw last year, which was my most expensive tournament buy-in ever for $2,500. And I said, I'm already down like whatever, 15, 17K at this point. Fuck it. Let me fire another $2,500 bullet. And I had a decent stack, right? There were 90 something people left. And then your table got broke. And then, of course, there's like, I don't know, 10 seats available. And sure enough, motherfucker gets sat right to my left. And like we were chatting about, strategy earlier in the morning, and we get involved in a pot, and I lose half of my stack to you. And I ended up soft bubbling like 10 away from the money. And I really needed that min cash, that 5K or whatever it was. That would have really kind of given me a spirit boost or whatever. Yeah, something, right? Just anything to cling on to, but I ended up busting it. But yeah, so I saw the vlogs, and I'm now back to feeling very, very good about my strategy of playing cash
first. Okay.
I'm kind of treating it, as I mentioned, similar to how we've treated Florida trips in the past, where we played cash the first like 2 or 3 days. We build up a buffer of, 3-4 grand. And then we say, okay, we'll fire off a couple bullets. That way you go into it with a much better mindset of like, okay, even if I lose 2 or 3 bullets, hey, I'm still up a couple grand for the trip. I'm feeling good, as opposed to how I was feeling, looking at, okay, I only need like 10 or 12 more names to come off the board and I can cash for 5 grand. And then I bubble. I'm like, fuck. Now I'm stuck like 20 grand. I just played. I don't even remember if that was probably day. It was actually day 2.
It was day 2. We were 16 hours in total. So 12 hours the first day, 4 hours the second day. And for all of our listeners and viewers out there, Wayne didn't even go back to the Airbnb. I don't think so. All I know is he busted, and I get a text that says, I'm fucking going home. I'll see you in a few days. I need a break.
Yeah.
I remember looking at that text, and I was like, oh boy. I'm like, it was the most awkward moment I've ever felt in poker in my entire life, because I knew how much of a downswing you're in, and I knew that was going to mean a lot to you. And I even remember asking a bunch of European friends and American friends how you would play this. And no, this doesn't come into my opinion about Nikki P and one big blind and getting a fucking walk. But when I asked all the European friends that I had and the players, they all said I would have soft played against my best friend. Every single fucking one of them. And then when I asked all my American poker players and friends, they all said, no, you did the right thing. You can still sleep well at night, and, you did the ethical thing that you're supposed to do. But yeah, it was funny. So maybe there was a little bit of soft play on this. Let the person walk for a big blind. I don't know. But yeah, that I definitely remember that. But I will tell you, when I started watching the Ryan DePaulo thing, and I see him call shit with like, Queen 10, 4-7 or whatever the hell he had, double suited for either a 3-bet or a big raise, I was just like, yeah, I'm like, I am starting to get the tournament bug again. Like, I was watching his vlog today, and I was like, man, I can't fucking wait to get back and play tournaments. Now, remind me of this halfway through June. I'm either going to be in love with what I just said, or I'm going to hate it. And Jedi for real says, what's up, boys? What's going on, Jedi? But yeah, no, I am definitely getting the tournament bug. I will tell you, only of playing like 5 tournaments for the year, I feel much more prepped, rested, and assured to crush it this year at the series. I know that sounds weird, because it's like, Josh, you've only played 5 fucking tournaments. Well, I've won 2 of them, and I cashed in a third. So yeah. Less is more, as Wayne has taught me throughout the years. Less is more. So this year, I'm only going to play 8 to 20 tournaments, and hopefully it's more closer to 8, because that means I'm making deep runs in all of them. And I really do feel like this is the fucking year that I'm going to crush it. Of course, I say that to my wife, and she always rolls her eyes, and she's like, "Oh, you say this every year." But is BB giving you the same thing when you're like, "No, honey, this year's going to be different. This year I'm going to fucking crush it in Vegas"? And she's just like, "Okay, whatever."
Yeah, before I answer that, it's funny that you mentioned the Queen 10 7-4, because it's funny how we both watched that same vlog and that same hand. and we had completely different, you know, reactions to it, right? So the number one comment that people give to Josh and I is like, wow, you guys are so different. Like, I can't believe you're traveling together, right? Because you're kind of this like big personality. You're kind of out there wearing tie-dye hats, and I kind of like to be more in the background, like a little quiet. I don't really show my face too often in my videos, right? Like a lot of times you don't actually see my face until the very end when I'm saying, hey, I was in for X and out for this. So it's pretty funny because I saw that Queen 10-7-4, and yeah, maybe there was a little bit of part of me that's like, okay, obviously Ryan DePaulo is a Hold'em player. He doesn't really know PLO that well, but really more importantly than that, I was saying, man, like tournaments are just such a crapshoot, right? Like, you know, with all these unlimited rebuys, and like we had talked about this on 2 or 3 vlogs ago, where they added entries to pretty much all the tournaments, even the heads up tournament, which didn't make any sense in my opinion, right? Because most of the time heads up tournaments are freeze outs, but they basically said, oh, if you bust day 1, you can come back and do day 2. So I looked at all that and said, as I said before, I'm very happy with my strategy of playing cash, and then we'll see where it goes with tournaments. Whereas, funny, you got the exact opposite. You said, man, I'm looking forward to tournaments.
Bro, yeah, when I saw Ryan DePaulo, who again I have a ton of respect for, call, I don't know, a 3-bet with like, or even raise, or what the fuck are you doing in that hand, Queen 10-7-4? And I know some of the viewers are like, Josh, what are you talking about? We've seen you play absolute dog shit. Oh shit, I raised my hand at the AI. But yes, I have played absolute terrible hands in cash games. It's very rare that I do that in tournaments. You have to have a different mindset in tournaments. You have to be more patient. You have to be way more selective. But yeah, when I saw that, I was like, man, I need to play some more tournaments. Like, it really gave me the tournament bug. Now, let me ask you a question on the whole Martin Cabral vlog, because there's all these poker players like Jeremy Asmus or Usmus, or Jeremy. He's got a couple $1 million in Hendon Mob winnings, and then you've got Martin Cabral. You've got all these poker players who are now making content as a content creator. And I'm going to admit, this is my own human in me. I get a little jealous. I'm like, what the fuck, guys? We're content creators too. You guys are out there doing high stakes stuff. Every time, like, I watch Rampage, okay, because he's a huge punter, and it's obvious this is coming from a coaching perspective, right? And I've commented on a lot of his videos. I've watched him. I was like one of his first 3,000 viewers, like many years ago in COVID when he started off in Boston, and he was in front of his computer. Hey guys, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. He was admitting to that. And I can tell in the last, I want to say 2 to 3 months, if that, maybe not even 2 to 3 months, but he's getting coached. I don't think he was getting coached until he just fucked off all of his money, because I think when he looks at his stream from YouTube and his revenue from all of his social medias and things, and he has, you know, whatever, $400,000 in revenue from all different revenue sources, and then he's like, oh wow, and I'm blowing 300,000 of it on poker. He probably said, what if I changed that 300 grand and just broke even? Like, that's $300,000 more in my money. I can tell he's being coached, and I even commented on that on his last vlog, because he ended up folding to 2 pair, and he was like, oh, this, and he had top pair, and he's like, oh, this is a really tight spot for me. I would never normally do this. And he was right. And I said, wow, congratulations. You're just finally starting to learn how to fucking play poker after vlogging all these years. But what do you think about all these poker players like Martin Cabral and Jeremy Asmus and stuff like that, who are now making content? Are you jealous at all? Because I do get a little bit of jealous, but on the flip side, when I see that, I go, you guys are playing nosebleed stakes, right? Like Jeremy Asmus buying into another 10K tournament, buying into, oh, this is my 4th buy into a 10K PLO. Like, eventually I'm sitting there and I'm going, anybody who fucking, you know, is a regular Joe 6-pack is not relating to this at all. If you're a poker player, you're interested, you might watch it. But realistically, like, the nosebleed stakes do not, people, I don't know. People don't look at the nosebleed stakes and they go, oh, that's where I'm going to be next week. What am I out of line here or what?
No, you're not out of line. I mean, so to answer your question, how I feel about it, it makes sense, right? Because from a poker player's perspective, some of these guys say they look at Negreanu and the success that he's had, and yeah, these guys are worth a couple $1 million, whatever. They have high net worths, but they say, hey, this is the way to get more opportunity, to become more famous, to kind of, you know, stroke their ego, so to say, right? So yeah, you see people putting themselves out there. For example, with Martin Cabral, he kind of splashed on the scene last year. I think he was in a couple of Negreanu's vlogs, and he ended up winning a bracelet. I think he won the mini main event, and you know, he's been in the poker scene for a while. But you know, as far as the jealousy thing, I mean, and there is a little bit of that, right? Because he puts out like 5 or 6 vlogs now, and he already has like almost 9,000 subscribers. I have 180 videos to give you perspective. So now, granted, I will say Mark Cabral, he did have like random videos from like 5 years ago that whatever, maybe he got some subscribers from that, but I've been vlogging for over 5 years. And I have over 181 videos. I checked today. I have like 7,000 subscribers. Martin Cabral, granted, he is a well-known name and whatever. He's posted 6 videos in the last week, and he has like almost 9,000 subscribers. So there is a little bit of that, but also it kind of reaffirms something that me and you have had a conversation about off air, right? Where we did the Venetian thing, and after the first stream, we were kind of thinking like I think you booked a win. I ended up booking a loss. So I was upset about that, but I was like, man, we were at dinner, I think at the Grand Lux. And I was saying like, man, they're going to have some really good content, right? Cause me and you and Wilson had that big pot, like all in. There was a bunch of like other really big spots. And I was like, okay, at least I lost, but at least they're going to be a bunch of content that comes out from this. And then obviously, long story short, we ended up hearing back like, yeah, you know, us in the Poker Go team, we didn't really see much, if any, content that is worthy of a short. And me and you are like, what the hell is going on here? Like that one hand 3-way all in is like, obviously example one, there was a bunch of others. So it just kind of proves that if you don't play Hold'em, your opportunity in poker is very capped. Now, not to say that there isn't good opportunities for you, right? Like obviously we've done a bunch of meetup games. We had the Venetian contract. Like there's been some other things that have come along as a result of the vlog, but it's very, very capped if you don't play 2-card.
Yeah. And to go back on the whole, we didn't have enough for short contents. We were on the stream. You and I were on the stream twice, and I was on the stream, 3 times total or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And each time they were like, we don't have any shorts for you. I was like, you don't have a single fucking short? Yeah, the $21,000 pot between you, me, and Wilson all in pre in a 25-25 game. Like how is that not short worthy? Or the 35K pot between me and Suited Superman. Like how the fuck, anytime you have a pot that's 1,000 big blinds in or close to it, how is that not short worthy? And you're right. It was just one of those things where they're like, well, if we do a Hold'em stream, we get, we'll get 100,000 views on the short to post it out. But if we do a PLO short, we might get like 6,000 or 10,000. Well, it's not even worth it to put into the production and the editing and stuff like that. And you do get really shit on. I mentioned that in one of my vlogs. I did send it to Tommy. It was with my Jungle Man whole debacle. And I posted on there, if you're playing Pot Limit Omaha, or if you're a PLO or a mixed game vlogger, you will get shit upon. But I think that's going to change. The WSOP knows that PLO is becoming increasingly popular. And I will say, viewers know this. Players are starting to know this as well, because I keep getting more and more subscribers that will comment and say, I started watching your vlog because there's not a lot of PLO out there. And I'm starting to find that grinding 2-5 no limit or 5-10 no limit is like sticking your dick in a pencil sharpener. And I would rather either play 1-3 no limit, or I'd rather play PLO, because PLO tends to be a lot softer than even 2-5 no limit or even 5-10 no limit. And I kind of agree. I mean, that's why I play PLO. Like I don't play Hold'em hardly ever unless I'm forced to. Like if it's a round by round game, I'll play it. But I will tell you, my first event, is going to be the No Limit Mini Mystery. That's the first one I'm going to get to a day for. I just already know this. It's just going to happen. It's just, I'm going to fucking crush it and hold them. and whatever, it'll be fun.
Mm-hmm. Yes, no, I definitely agree. I mean, I'm having more and more people reach out to me as well. And the number one thing I tell people is this is something that me and you have seen years ago, obviously, but more and more people are seeing these 2-5 and 5-10 games, no limit, are just very tough to beat. And the biggest thing I tell people is that action type players, people that have FU money like Flounder, like Johnny, or some of these other people, they would much rather on average play something like PLO or even Big O, or 5 and 6 card even online, because they know that if they play way too many hands, they're not going to get punished as much in those games as they would in no limit, right? Like if someone has pair over pair, aces is pretty much like 75% favorite against everything, right? But if you have even the best hand in PLO, ace ace jack 10 or ace ace king king double suited, you pick 4 random cards, they're still going to have like 30 to 35% equity a lot of times, right? So, people can't really fathom that coming from a hold'em mindset. So you're seeing these players, these action type players, the players that you want in a game, the players that are in usually what's called a good game. A lot of times now you're seeing it more and more, and the WSOP is a little late to the party, as we mentioned, but better late than never, right? They added Big O. I think the first time was maybe like 2 or 3 years ago. They added the $1,500 Big O.
2 years ago, yeah.
2 years ago, and then they recently, I think last year, added the 10K Big O, right? And then this year they added the 5-card PLO, which was this will be the inaugural 5-card PLO WSOP bracelet event, right? So they're starting to see, okay, like, yes, Hold'em is probably always going to be our bread and butter. It's always the most popular game, but hey, PLO is becoming big. We got Big O. We got 5-card. They added the Bomb Pot tournament last year, which was the first time that they did a all Bomb Pot tournament, right?
And that was huge. Even yeah,
huge, right? It had what, 13 or 14 or 1,500 entries, and even in WSOP Europe, where they only have 15 events, I believe I saw, if I'm not mistaken, that one of the events is a double board Bomb Pot PLO event, right? So that just shows you, if they only have 15 events and one of them is a double board Bomb Pot PLO event, they realize like, hey, these games are rapidly becoming more popular. We have to put these out there to attract a little bit more market share.
Which is really interesting, because for us, we're used to like a bracelet event for PLO or Big O having one day one. Like this is a huge difference. Like a lot of our viewers and listeners don't understand this, or maybe they do, but the difference between having, for example, the no limit mini mystery event, $550 buy-in, where you have 5 fucking days where you can buy into it and bag, okay? Meaning you can fire 10 bullets, because they do have a limit of 2 bullets per day, but you can fire 10 bullets into this fucking tournament over the course of 5 days in order to get to a day 2. PLO, you had one day one, and that was it. Like if you had a bad day or you missed your flight or whatever the case may be, sorry, out of luck. Or if you were in another day 2 or day 3 in a different tournament, because that's something you and I have ran into, where we're like, fuck, I want to play the $600 deep stack. I think that's what I ran into last year. I was like, I'd really like to play the $600 deep stack, but I'm in day 3 of the Big O. Okay, whatever, like, and it's one of those things where that happens. And it's, now that we do have multiple day ones, like we do have Big O, for example, at 3,300 entries last year, and you have 2 day ones where you can fire 2 bullets in each of those.
Yeah.
I mean, the chip stacks are going to be enormous at the end. And here's the only issue that I see with it, because even though last year there was 3,300 people and the Big O ended up having a day 4, I would bet money that this year the Big O is going to have a day 5 behind it, because when you have that many chips in play, you're probably going to have 5,000 entrants in the Big O. Like I know. And first of all, any of our listeners or viewers are hearing this, if you bet on sports or prediction shit like Kalshi, that's usually just throwing money away, right? Like there's a Kalshi bet that's 50-50 on, is there going to be over 10,000 people in the main event for the World Series, right? And we don't endorse Kalshi. We don't get paid by Kalshi. I'm just mentioning their fucking name because all the other vloggers get endorsed by, get paid by them to endorse them. But I'm curious what the over-under is on the Big O for multiple days, because if it's over 5,000, I'm definitely taking the over, because last year we had 3,300 runners on a day 1. And I can imagine, especially like when Wayne says, if you've never been to the WSOP and you're going to the WSOP this year, 2 things. That WSOP app is a fucking game changer. You used to bust out, go look at the line, then
Mhm.
determine if you wanted to reload, right?
Yep.
Now, with your phone, you can either pre-program like a debit card or a credit card on there because they accept credit cards, or if you go to the cage, you can just give them like 10 grand and be like, here, put this on my WSOP account. Or if you win a tournament or you cash, they don't give you cash right away. They give you a ticket and they go, well, do you want to put it on your account or do you want to cash it out? Now, my only one issue I have with that is, say, for example, you win 20 grand and you're like, just put it on my account, which is great. If you say, I just want to pull out 10 grand, they don't allow that. You either have to pull it out, all out, or you have to keep it all in there. But when it's in there, it's really nice because you can bust out of a fucking tournament. And you're right. You see this all the time at the WSP. People are standing up and they're like, hey, dealer, bust me out so I can fucking re-enter right now, you know? And where before in years past, you'd bust out and you'd be like, oh, fuck, now I got to go to the line. Now I got to go, you know, stand there and wait. And yeah, it was a horrible situation. So obviously with the app, being able to bust out and literally rebuy within 2 minutes of busting out and then being sent to being able to, you know, sit there and like just be a couple tables away. I mean, you don't even have to wait 5 minutes. You're like, oh, I got chips again. It's really good. And I think, and I love it. Okay. I don't think they should change anything of it, but overall, it definitely, in a way, it favors the players. But let's be honest, it favors GG poker or WSOP way more with the rake structure. You know, I mean, that's why you have a lot more entries, is because people don't have to wait in line as long, which ultimately I think it's a good thing. But don't ever mistake that they're not doing it for their own self-interest.
Oh, of course. Yeah. So a couple things I'll say on the tournament. So, you know, as I mentioned, watching Martin Cabrill's vlog, there was a little part of me that, even though you're talking to a guy that lost over 20 grand last year playing primarily tournaments, there was a part of me for at least a couple minutes, that vlog was like, man, yeah, like I would love to like be at a final table and, you know, maybe be on ESPN and like, you know, because there is a, you know, an exhilaration about it. Like you get people text you like when we were on Negreanu's vlog last year, even it was for 10 seconds, right? So Josh made a big run in the Big O. He made a day 3, and I told Josh, like, hey, if one of us makes a day 3, we're going to dress up in our Dumb and Dumber suits, right? So we did, and Negreanu was playing like 7-card stud or some shit, and he was on a break, and he comes back, he's like, hey, who's dumb, who's dumber, right? And then like it was 10 seconds, right? But like, I don't know, maybe I'll go the rest of my life and I won't have as many people that texted me within the like next couple hours of that vlog airing. I probably had like, I don't know, 60 messages from people like, oh my God, dude, I saw you were on Negreanu's vlog. Like, that's so cool. It was literally like 7 seconds, like very quick, right? So it can be very addicting, right? And you know, there is, you know, some intrinsic value for people like Josh and I who are in the industry, right? Because not only do you have to look at the value of like, oh, winning a bracelet, like 300 grand or whatever, there's also the extra value of like, oh, what opportunities might I get because of this, right? Maybe I get in the player of the year running. Maybe I get some endorsements that people didn't know about, right? But I will say, if you're just an amateur rec player coming to the WSOP, I would really, you know, learn from my mistake last year. I went into it. You asked about my wife, BB. Last year, I said, hey, like I'm going to the series. My plan is literally just to play cash. I literally had this same plan I have this year, like just play cash, and then I'll see. Maybe I'll sprinkle in a tournament or two, right? But then a couple days goes by and you hear about, oh, this random guy won a bracelet. He won X amount of money. And like you see the final table and there's like a couple hundred people surrounding it. And you get sucked into that and you're saying, man, like I would really love to do that. But learn from my mistake. And, you know, if you're going to play one of these events like the Colossus where they have 4 or 5 flights and you say, hey, I'm only playing like 1 or 2 bullets, that's fine. But just know a couple things. Just know that if you're only entering like 2 bullets and there's a total of 10 bullets total, you are at a severe disadvantage, right? Because they have 10 bullets total to run up a stack and then bag a huge chip stack for day 2, right? So that's the first thing. Second thing is stick to your guns, right? If you say, hey, I only have 2 grand to basically go for a weekend and blow on tournaments or whatever, and if you do well for yourself, like, okay, fine. But if you are serious about making poker a profession, I really do think that playing primarily cash with a sprinkle or a dusting of tournaments is really the way to go, because these tournaments, they're very, it's very fugazi. It's a facade, right? Where you see Negreanu's got like 50 million in Hendon Mob winnings, right? But I believe he's even admitted that maybe only like 4 to 5% of that is profit, right? But if you didn't know that,
9 to 11% is what he said. 9 to 11.
or 9 to 11%. I mean,
but still,
that's
50 million, yeah, and he's profited 5 million. It's like, fuck, that means the rest of it's just fucking in air.
And he's been in the, I mean, he's like 51 now. His nickname is Kid Poker. So that means that he's been in the game for what, 30 years, right? Not to sneeze at 50 million. That's obviously something to be, very proud of. And, but also another thing is he's what, maybe if not the best, he's got to be like top 10 players in the world, correct? Right?
I personally think Daniel Negreanu is, in my opinion, one of the absolute best, particularly because of his reading abilities. And I have so much respect for him. But yeah, I concur. Top 10, I would say top 5. In my book, probably top 3 or top 5.
All right, so let's say he's like the 5th best player in the world. What are you, Joe Sixpack, gonna think to accomplish from tournaments? Now, I'm not saying don't play tournaments. I'm just saying go in with a plan, stick to it, and don't get sucked into like all the hoopla of like, because with this app, what Josh is saying is absolutely great, right? Like if I can choose to hop on my phone for 7 seconds and rebuy, boop, I'm ready to go. That's great, but your money goes a lot quicker, right? Like when I lost those two, it's very similar to online, where the number one thing people say about going from live to online, and I went through the same thing. You could tell me if you've went through the same thing. You almost don't treat it as, you don't take it as seriously, right? Because if I'm playing live and I'm going to the casino, I have to drive like 45 minutes to the casino. I have to prep. I'm like bringing food. It's a whole ordeal. So like when I'm there, I'm taking it very seriously, right? But if I'm playing online, I got my phone. I could be, I could be watching TV with my wife. I could be on the can. Like I could be doing 17 other things while I'm playing online. So it's, even though it's live, this app makes it so that you're going to go, you go through money very quickly, right? You could do what I did and bust an entry and then rebuy and then bust that entry while Josh is still in the same hand. Like that shit happens all the time. So just be careful with it and don't get kind of caught up in all the hype and the hoopla.
Well, you almost, and this is also part of the disadvantage of being a professional poker player, is you start to forget that it's fucking money, right? Like you're just like, what's another 1,500? What's another $2,000? What's this? Like and I remember I had that epiphany last year. So 2 years ago, I played in the 10K Big O, brought a brick, bought in straight with cash. Last year, I milestoned in. So it was $1,000 buy-in. I ended up winning, a seat. 1 out of 10 people got to win a seat. I ended up winning a seat, so I got to go into a 10K Big O. And I remember the hand I busted, which of course was aces, double suited, whatever, doesn't matter, jerky. And I remember when I busted, I didn't even, like the first 2 years ago when I busted, and I put it on my vlog, I think I said the word fuck 20 or 25 times in a row. And I was like screaming it while I was walking out the casino, and I was pissed. This year I busted and I went, GG. And I just got up and walked out. And I remember as I was walking from Paris, I can't remember if I was walking from Paris to Bellagio for parking or Paris to wherever, but I remember walking outside and thinking, holy fuck, that was a $10,000 tournament I just busted, and I had zero fucking emotion attached to it. Like zero. I wasn't like, I mean, I was a little pissed, but it was like, oh, it's a tournament, it's a buy-in, it's a bullet, who cares? And I was just, and I remember thinking to myself, what the fuck? That was a $10,000 tournament. Like, I remember when I first started playing tournaments, a $300 buy-in was like huge for me, because I didn't start playing tournaments until, I don't know, like 6-8 years ago, somewhere around there, maybe 10 years ago. And I remember when I started playing tournaments, yeah, my big buy-in was like, oh my God, a $300 tournament. And now I look at it and I'm like, $500 tournament. It's only got 100 players. There's not enough value. I'll just wait till the series. you know, and yeah, that's making your money work better for you. But I think what we need to do at the Vegas house, and for all of our listeners out there, we get a huge mansion every year and we have nothing but poker players there, plus a cleaner and a cook. But when we do our Vegas house this year, the dry erase board I'm bringing, I'm going to write on the top of it, don't chase bracelets, chase EV. So that way it reminds every single player walking out the door, hey, bracelets are important, but what keeps you in the game is fucking cashing, and do whatever you need to do in a legal and ethical manner to cash, you know? And I mean, I think that will make a huge difference. And like my mindset on it is completely different. Like before I was like, oh, I didn't come here to min cash. Don't get me wrong. No one wants to min cash. You buy into a $1,500 tournament, you know, you bag for day 2 and you bust out an hour into day 2. Yeah, you're up $1,500. So you get $3,000. But on the flip side, you know, it's better than busting out right before bagging and not cashing. So I think the biggest thing that I've learned the most is, and this is something I've been preaching recently to a few of my students, is it's better for you to be in the tournament than for you to make the right play where you might bust out. Like the equity of having yourself in the tournament still gives you a chance. Even if you're down to a half of a big blind, trust me, you can get second, you can get third, you know, you can still make a deep run. That is more important, because when you bust, you have 0% chance of getting there. And that's something I've been preaching a lot lately is, yeah, it was the right play, but it put your tournament life at risk. So was it really the right play? You know? And I mean, you could say that's good for me and not good for poker, kind of the same argument with the small blind versus big blind. But I don't know. I'm like, it's starting to sink in a little bit. And this is somebody who's been doing poker for a really long time, just all cash. And I'm now starting to, I think, see the light when it comes to tournaments. Like my whole attitude on tournaments this year is just completely different. Like I remember I was with Johnny Vibes' brother, Anthony Moreno, out in California in San Diego. And I want to say this was 5 years ago. And I didn't even know who he was. I was playing a $1,500, $1,100 buy-in. And somebody says to me, oh my God, that's Anthony Moreno. I'm like, who the fuck is Anthony Moreno? And they say, oh, that's Johnny Vibes' brother. He won the Win Millions in July. And I was like, oh. So I looked him up. Yeah, he had like, I don't know, a couple $2 million wins at $10 million in, you know, Hendon Mob earnings or whatever. So when I went back, I got to sit right next to him. He was directly to my right for, I want to say it was about 7 hours. And you bet your ass, because this was when I was first getting into tournaments, I picked his brain for 7 hours. And and not like constantly, but I was like talking to him quite a bit. As you know, I chatter a lot. And he says, the biggest thing is when you're out of rebuys, because he's like, when you have the rebuy phase, it doesn't matter. Just make the right play. He's like, when you're out of rebuys, he goes, you want to act like your last chip, your life depends on it. Yeah. And I know he said that at the time, and I know I heard it, but it didn't really sink in until this past year. Like in January, it started sinking in, and I don't know what the hell happened. Like I just woke up one day and I was like, oh, you know. Now, speaking of Martin Cabral, as you guys know, or maybe you don't, last year during the series, he had a lot of round penalties. Did he get disqualified in the main, or no? He almost got disqualified, but he did have a lot of penalties in that. And in the $5,300 tournament, I don't know if you knew this, for the PLO, there was a guy who actually got disqualified in 30th. So he was already in the money and he was super drunk. He got a 1-round penalty, and allegedly, I watched the video like 3 times. Allegedly, he slapped an employee's hand, and that's why they DQ'd him. Now, if he did slap an employee's hand, it might have been because the person put their hands on him. I did not see that. I did not witness that. I tried to look for it. I couldn't find it, but and WSOP doesn't comment on it. But if Martin Cabral doesn't get disqualified from a tournament for all the shenanigans that he does, and first of all, kudos to Martin Cabral. Even if you don't like the guy, even if you think he's an asshole, the fact that he can put nosebleed poker players on tilt and on edge, fuck all those other nosebleed players. I give kudos to Martin Cabral. I really do, because I understand it's annoying. and I haven't played with him yet. I'm sure if I have him at my table and he's being an asshole, he's going to learn how much of an asshole I can be. Because I'll play right back at him. I like table talk, and I know in tournament rules, you're not allowed to say anything that influences the action. But you have to imagine if you're sitting at Martin Cabral's table, just the sound of his voice probably influences some. I hope I can knock this guy out of the table, out of the tournament action. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, and you'll, not to spoil it, but you'll see some of his antics in the vlogs, and he definitely finds that line and goes right up to the edge, if not surpasses it sometimes. And maybe he figures, hey, now that I create content and he's got a media pass with the WSOP, maybe he figures that will buy him a longer leash, right? Where they won't be as quick to like give him a penalty or whatnot, because he is kind of bringing more players to the game. And yeah, what you said, a lot of people think he's an asshole, but you'll see a lot of people, he interviews different players on his vlog and they say, yeah, like he's an asshole, but he's good for the game. And, kudos to him for using that to his advantage, right? If he can tilt these multimillionaires by basically keep continuing to chat and make fun of them in different ways, then kudos to him. That's within his right, as long as it's within the rules.
And isn't, if I might be mistaken, but doesn't he have a law degree? Isn't he a lawyer as well, or is that somebody else who got disqualified last year?
I don't know about that, but I do know he was talking with Frankie in one of the episodes, and Frankie was kind of asking him about his background. He said he was in some kind of business. He didn't really get into specifics, but it sounds like he took the route of a lot of poker players, where he was in business, made a good amount of money, fell into poker. And then now I don't know how old he is. He's probably like late 30s, early 40s or whatever, but sounds like he has a decent bankroll to his name.
Yeah. And I know he has a lot of backers too, which with the proven track record, I mean, I suppose that, but yeah, they kick somebody out at 30 people left on a bracelet event, on a $5,300 PLO bracelet event. And they did say the guy was obnoxiously drunk, which, I mean, it's poker. You're going to have that, but I wasn't there, so I didn't get to witness it. But I got to witness the small clip that went on the internet, and I was like, "Wow, he didn't look like he slapped anybody." But yeah, apparently he hit an employee or slapped their hand or something. I don't know, but I saw that and I was like, "Well, he looks like he's being an asshole, and he's looked like he's drunk, but I don't know if it's worth DQing him." And they gave him a 1-round penalty. That's the video that I saw. So.
I'd imagine he did something egregious for them to throw him out or disqualify him, right? They don't really want to do that, but he probably forced their hand by touching an employee, right? I know in the NFL that's subject to disqualification, right? If you touch a referee because you're not happy about the call, you're automatically, I think they changed that a couple of years ago. So that sounds like it could be the case here with them touching a dealer.
Well, and I'm trying to picture like yourself or myself. If we're in a tournament and there's 30 people left, whether you're drunk or not, but if you give me a 1-round penalty, that's fine. But you put your hands on me after that, I'm going to have a fucking problem. Like, you can give me a 1-round penalty all you want. I'll disagree with you. But the moment you fucking touch me, I got problems with it. I don't know. I'm like, dude, you don't need to push me. You already told me I'm getting a 1-round penalty. Since I'm getting a 1-round penalty, I'm going to give you my fucking peace of mind for the next 8 hands.
Yep. For sure.
I mean, that is what the people at the WSOP do get paid for, the floor people. I know that some of the floor people might be shaking their heads and they're like, Josh, you're an idiot. No, that's part of your job. That's what you do. That's what you're getting paid for. I know. Deal with it, And I guess this is where, I know that sounds really shitty, but I guess this is where AI and robots that are eventually going to take over all the dealing. Because I don't know if you saw how they deal at the WSOP Europe. They deal right off the top of the deck. I think that's the way they need to do it everywhere for all cash games, 100%. I think if dealers can't get with that fucking program, replace them with AI. And I'm not trying to be a dick about it, but when you pitch a card, and for anybody who's listening and they're not familiar with this, in the Bellagio at Las Vegas at table 1, 500 or 100, 200, no limit. They had fucking people who were cheating. And what was happening is they would either sit in seat 1 or seat 8. And as a dealer was pitching the cards, you figure there's, a 4-inch buffer between the card and the rail. and somebody would have their cell phone, which would have a camera on the side of it on the rail, and it could pick up what cards were being pitched. And then somebody at the slot machine had a Bluetooth connected to the camera that they were watching, or sitting out in the parking garage in their car or in the bathroom or whatever. And then they were like messaging or relaying that information to the person who was playing. And, this is all allegedly, of course, but the guy ended up walking out with like $180,000. I remember Matt Berkey talked about it quite a bit. And they're like, wow, he's making some really crazy calls. And eventually they kind of figured it out, but they figured it out after the fact. So you're talking about one of the highest security areas, table one, Bellagio, Las Vegas, one of the highest stakes. If they can cheat there, you bet your fucking ass they can cheat in any tournament, even when it's being streamed. It doesn't matter. Like, you got to take all the precautions to take all that shit out. So yeah, it's you dealing right off the top of the deck, going straight down, reduces the risk of somebody having like a pocket cam that they can pick stuff up for. And I think it's probably less than 2 years before they force that upon all the dealers at the WSOP. And then I think it's only a year or two after that before they end up replacing all day one dealers with AI, because it'll just save everybody money. Like, it'll save players money, it'll save them money, it's a hell of a lot less headaches.
Yeah, no, and it's good. I mean, I know some people were saying that having a WSOP Europe kind of waters down the bracelets, right? Because now they're giving out bracelets at 3 different places. You got WSOP Paradise, Europe, and then the actual WSOP in Vegas. But one of the benefits of it is, since it's, a month or so, or we're now like 6 or 7 weeks from the series, they can kind of get out some of the kinks at Europe, and that's a good change that I'm sure everyone's happy to see, where they're dealing right off the top of the deck, where that's going to eliminate the ability to cheat, as the situation was in the story you just mentioned.
Well, and they were doing that 2 years ago in Europe. That's how all of the dealers deal now in Europe, but they don't do that here in the United States. So it's a matter of just, let's train them and let's just make sure they're doing it right. But yeah, for right now, we still see dealers that are just doing the standard pitch. And then my favorite, especially when you get a pissy dealer or a dealer who doesn't like you and they fucking helicopter your card. I've had some dealers do that before in the past, where I've taken the card and just turned it upside down and said, oh, I saw it. Especially if I see it and it's on my way here and it's not a good card. No, I just do it no matter what. If you're going to fucking helicopter a card to me, and if there's any dealers out there that are watching and they're like, I can't wait to helicopter a card to fucking Professor in the middle of an event. Yeah, I'm going to fucking say a few things to you. I'm going to be like, hey, buddy, you need to keep your pitch down no matter what. And I've seen dealers do that and they just don't give a fuck. They're just like, But I've had other dealers that, of course, are very respectful of that, where they're like, okay, I'll keep it down. But yeah, I could see players getting pissed off by a number of things. But yeah, how much pitch you have in your deal has a significant impact on whether or not players can see it. Because here's the thing. I can be in seat 2 and sometimes even in seat 3. And sometimes if I'm in seat 2, from time to time, I can see seat 10's cards. Okay. And when I'm in seat 3, sometimes I can see seat 6's cards, not just during the pitch, but when they look at their cards down that far, because my eyesight, for whatever reason, when it comes to cards, is really good. So when dealers are pitching too high, if I see a dealer that's doing that consistently, I just start announcing cards as they're pitching. I don't know. Have you ever experienced that with dealers pitching too high?
I have. I haven't announced the cards that I've seen, but I'm definitely interested to see if there's going to be any changes to this WSOP. Right now that you said, hey, it's been 2 years in WSOP Europe that they deal like this, and obviously there's all these different stories about cheating allegations coming out. I'll be curious to see if there's any changes to the way they train people. I mean, even if not everyone is doing it, but at least if you see some of the dealers starting to deal like that, that would be a great sight to see.
Yeah, and I remember I mentioned it to a few of the really experienced dealers. We mentioned last week, the color of lanyard that your dealer is at the WSOP tells you how long they've been dealing. So if it's a green lanyard, it's 1 year. If it's black, they've been there for 5 years or something. Red is like 3. And I remember talking with them and they're like, oh, we're never going to deal off the top of the deck. And I was like, no, you guys are only like a couple years away where you're going to have to change it. And they're just like, we don't do that anywhere in the United States. And I'm like, yeah, we're going to have to fucking get up with the system here. Like they do it a safer, better way in Europe. Like, why aren't we doing that here? It just makes absolutely no sense. Why wouldn't you do it? Like the upside is it's people can still cheat, don't get me wrong, but the upside is it's a lot less likely somebody's going to cheat. It's a lot less likely somebody's going to see the cards. The downside is it takes an extra little bit to learn as a dealer, and then the dealing doesn't take any longer. I don't think. Maybe it takes an extra half a second or a second per hand longer. But it'll be interesting. And bringing up all the PLO stuff that you talked about, they do have a pick your PLO. I clicked on that earlier this week to see what all PLO options are available, because I'm curious if PLO 6 is in there, but I don't think PLO 6 is in there. They haven't announced it yet, but it's like pick your PLO. And I'm like, that'd be an interesting one, because PLO 6 is an actual thing, even though the WSOP is not caught up with that yet.
Yeah, I'd imagine PLO 5 would probably be the most amount of cards they're going to have for a game, since they just added that as a WSOP event. But as you mentioned, PLO 6 is becoming more popular, not just online, but I know, what was it? Mark, Donkey Dollars in South Africa. He showed us a video of PLO 7 being played. Now, I don't know if this was like a regularly run game, or they were just like, it was 4 o'clock in the morning and they said, hey, there's only 3 of us. Screw it. Let's do 7 cards. But I do think eventually there should be some 6 card variants at the series.
Yeah, I think that would be fun. It would be interesting, but I know people would just be like, what the hell? But yeah, it'll definitely be interesting coming up in the series. What's the number one thing you're looking forward to the most going to Vegas for a whole month, or 5 to 6, 7 weeks?
I'm just really excited to see. So last year, obviously, I had the plan of playing cash, and I didn't do a good job of that, as I pretty much played mostly tournaments. I don't think I played a single cash session until near the end, when I was already stuck piles, with the exception of, actually, there was a meetup game I think we had maybe like the 29th or something. But besides that, I didn't play any cash until, I don't know, maybe like the 23rd or the 24th of June, and I was already stuck piles at that point. So I'm excited to see a mostly cash WSOP and really just compare my results. I'll probably end up doing a vlog where I say, okay, here was my 2025 WSOP, where it was mostly tournaments with a little cash, and then compare it to this year, which hopefully I stick to my plan, and mostly cash with maybe a tournament or two, and just compare the results. I mean, the bar is set pretty low for me, as obviously it's going to be pretty difficult to not improve upon my result from last year, but never say never. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, and you don't have to worry about like whether or not you're going to stick to it, because trust me, I'm going to remind you every time you're like, oh, I'm going to fire into this Raz tournament, or maybe Raz is a little different. I would encourage that, but maybe not. I mean, if you're having a bad run and you're like, oh, I just feel like, but you and I have talked each other into some tournaments before, and we've also talked each other. Like, it's nice having, if you're going to the WSOP, it's nice to have somebody with you who can be a soundboard for you, because they can say, I don't know if you should do that. Or I remember in Florida, when I was debating like the 8 game, you were like, 8 game, that's your fucking game. Why aren't you playing it? And I was like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely some advantages of traveling with people versus being solo. Now, what's the thing you're looking forward to the least going to Vegas for 4 to 7 weeks?
Probably just the heat overall. I mean, I do live in San Diego, so I'm used to the heat, but I tell people all the time, like, like I was talking to my barber the other day. I got a haircut yesterday, and I was telling him about Vegas, and he doesn't play for a living. I don't even think he's ever played poker. He just goes there to play craps or play blackjack or whatever. But anyone who's ever been there knows that heat can really take a toll. And I always tell people that one of the toughest parts to deal with about Vegas is you go from 110 degrees outside to 60 degrees inside the casino. And obviously we covered this like a month ago, right? one of the previous episodes, last year, especially at the WSOP, was ridiculously cold. I mean, so much so that Negreanu, who is hired by GG Poker, and everyone kind of knew that GG Poker was eventually going to take over WSOP. So he essentially works for WSOP, right? So he is obviously not incentivized to criticize WSOP. But I remember on one of his vlogs, he said, dude, who's ever watching this, like Jack Eiffel or whoever the hell is in charge of this, like, we got to do something about this AC, right? Because especially in the, I believe it was the yellow section, right? Where if you haven't been to WSOP, you have your table, and then probably like 10 feet up, you'll have a table 678, right? So like you get your thing, okay, table 678 C5. So you go in this big ballroom, you see the thing, but the AC was blowing so rapidly that these signs were swinging back and forth. And you knew that if you drew one of these tables, it was going to be a friggin' long day. I'll tell you who benefited the most was the cocktail waitresses and the drink servers, because they were popping out coffees and hot chocolates and teas like they were hotcakes, because everyone and their mother, nobody prepared for like, hey, like 60-degree weather. You think, okay, maybe like 65, 67, that's a little normal. But 60-degree weather, people are just like popping these drinks left and right, just trying to stay like somewhat normal of a temperature. So that's probably the least thing I'm looking forward to, because I think every year I've gone to the WSOP, I've gotten sick at least once, right? And not only the change in temperature, I mean, I consider myself pretty healthy. I stay in shape. I take vitamins, this and that. But it's not just the temperature. You have people from, I don't know, how many countries would you say? At least like 50 countries, all within like one little ballroom, right? So, I mean, you have all these different germs and people from all over the world. So that's something I'm not looking forward to. But I think this year I'm going to maybe look into some different supplement packs and different things to try to like prepare for not getting the Vegas flu.
Maybe you need to order some long johns. See, that's something we do up here in the Midwest, is we wear long john underwear that goes all the way down to our ankles and to our wrists. And then we usually wear those when we like go snowmobiling and stuff, but you put on some long johns and then your regular clothes and you'll be like, oh, I'll be nice and fine, because it keeps the heat within you. So it really helps insulate the heat. Or I know Armour, what is it? Under Armour? Yeah. Under Armour used to have, they still do. They sell 3 different like layers where they're like, this maintains your heat the most. And they're not cheap. They're like $100. But I remember I've had Under Armour stuff before. That might be something I pick up before I go out there. But yeah, I would say the heat, I could definitely see that. I will tell you though, that pool every day was used every single day we were in that pool, because it was like, it was so refreshing to have a place in the back of our place to just relax and get away from it all. And that's the other challenge. Like I was in Vegas, a month ago or so, and with Sean, and we spent a week on the Strip, and like at the end of it, I was so fucking exhausted. I was like, dude, I'm like, a week on the Strip is like exhausting. Like, don't get me wrong, a week in Vegas is exhausting, but at least when you have your own Airbnb and you can drive away from the Strip and you can relax and you can do yoga or meditate or swimming or whatever, it gives you a nice break. That's for sure. So I think the thing I'm looking forward to the most is just having everybody around, and I like it when people win stuff. Like last year we had Powell ended up winning a 28K first place in PLO. That was exciting. So I'm looking forward with the bigger players that we have. I feel like our household, if you will, is going to ship some pretty big stuff. I really feel that this year. I think it's just going to be completely different.
I agree. Yeah. And before we wrap up, I just wanted to kind of cover one more thing. So we had mentioned meetup games earlier. So as a vlogger, I tell people this all the time. You don't really make a ton off of YouTube itself, but where you can, benefit greatly is from the opportunities you get as a result of your audience. And one of those things is meetup games. So I don't know if you remember, Josh, but our first meetup game together was at the Hustler Casino. This was September of 2022. I actually had to look it up because sometimes the years when you've been vlogging for as long as we have, sometimes you're like, was it 21, 22, 23, right? So I had to look back. But as many of you know who've watched my vlog, my first probably like 40 or 50 vlogs were out of a place called Lake Elsinore Casino, or as we call it, the Lake. Pretty cool place. It's a 5-5 PLO that I kind of came up on. And one of the first people I met there was a guy named Taylor, and really great guy that I played a ton with. And he was actually at our meetup game. I don't know if you remember, Josh, at the Hustler, and played with this guy for years. And Bryson, if you can pull up the clip that I sent you, I think it should be clip 2. This was a pretty funny hand that I played with Taylor probably like 2 or 3 years ago.
This was 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, it's really funny hand. We got the sound on or no?
Oh, I don't know if the audio is on. He's
no audio. Let's see.
Oh,
all right. All right. Well, he'll figure that out. But yeah, really funny hand that I played with Taylor, and we used to call it a Taylor blow up, similar to Mike Mattisau. Okay, here's got it. Let's see what we got. Let's see if we got sound.
This hand I looked at, Queen 10 single suited in the small blind. This hand picks up on the flop of 9-8-5 with 2 clubs. It's 3 ways between myself, the big blind Taylor, and Pat and the original raiser. Checks to Pat, who bets 35. I call. Taylor then pots it. Pat then pushes all in. I, of course, make the call, and we agree to run it twice, so we're going to 2 runouts. The runout on the top brings a jack of hearts and a 3 of hearts. The runout on the bottom brings a 3 of spades and a jack of diamonds. Let's listen to the rest of the hand and see what happens.
Double nut. Oh, you lose both.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fucking piece of shit. It's bad. Fucking run around a piece of shit every time.
I got double straight flush. Holy fuck.
I got double straight flush.
Shit.
Oh.
Did you film that shit?
I got you, man. I got you.
This
So yeah, really funny hand, and it kind of became a local thing for us at the lake because Taylor had these blowups before, and if you didn't know Taylor like I did, if you watched that, you'd probably think like, man, this guy must be a nut job, like he's cursing you out for sucking out on him or whatever. But Taylor, I want to say he kind of had like almost a Phil Hellmuth thing where obviously Phil Hellmuth kind of has this poker brat mentality, and that's how people know him. But anyone who knows him off the table, like I've heard Negreanu talk about him, Mike Mattisau, other people have talked about him, and they said off the table he's this like sweetest, like chill guy, just like a really down to earth guy. And that was the same way with Taylor. I had talked to him last like a couple weeks back. Like I remember a year ago, he gave me some cruise advice because I had never been on a cruise, and him and his wife were avid cruise goers, and they would go all the time. So he gave me cruise advice. And what's crazy is I talked to him like a week ago. He was hosting a meetup game up in Morongo, which is a couple hours north of where I live here. And I had played with him before. But yeah, he texted me like a week ago. And I woke up yesterday, and I turned on my phone, and one of the first texts I get was from another guy who plays at the lake, and he was like, "Hey Wayne, I don't know if you saw." I was like, "No, what happened?" He was like, "Oh, Taylor got in a car accident last week," and I said, "Oh shit, like what happened?" And so I didn't get all the details, but he collided with a utility truck, and I guess the authorities pronounced him dead on the scene. So really surreal and really crazy that this was someone I didn't get to know like super personally, but like I had played probably like, I don't know, 30 to 40 sessions with him. He was always very supportive of me. Like he was a frequent commenter on my videos. He supported us at the meetup game. Just a really cool guy. He was one of those guys that if you ever got into a bind, like say your car broke down or like your battery didn't start and you needed like a jump, like he's the guy you can like call and like he would be like, okay, cool, where are you at? And like he would come over. So just kind of a crazy, surreal situation. I found out about yesterday, as I said, and I'm actually going to be attending his memorial service on Friday. But just a really, really tough loss. He was a frequent player at the lake, and anyone who knew him, kind of knew him sometimes for these famous blowups, but as I said, off the table, just like a super nice guy, would always give the shirt off his back to you, and just a crazy situation.
Well, and I will tell you everything that Taylor said in that hand. If I was in his shoes, I'd probably be thinking it, but I just wouldn't say it.
Yeah,
and nice hand, chips.
Yeah, and part of it, like, it became such a funny thing that anytime he would get involved in a hand, everyone at the table would say, "Uh-oh, Wayne, get the camera out. Here comes a blow up." So he knew, like, you heard him at the end of that video, like, "Oh, did you record this?" Because he knew I was recording, and you and I, you know as well as me that anytime someone knows you're recording, they're going to do some things that they probably normally wouldn't do, right? So I don't know if I wasn't recording, if Taylor would have said all those things. So, he did a great acting job, I'd say. I mean, that's one of my most viewed shorts, right? Because it's just like a funny thing. So, yeah.
This is hilarious. This is kind of a side story, but my brother Kevin, who recently got divorced. Congratulations again, bro. He said to me when I first started vlogging, he's like, "Dude, we need to make you go viral." I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "Well, how do we do that?" And he goes, "I got a good idea. Why don't we stage a fight in a casino when you're in a hand?" And I mean, that sounds terrible, but usually if you go on X or you go on, these shorts, what are some of these popular shorts when people are like blowing up, losing their shit, getting disqualified, things like that. And I was just like, no. I'm like, I appreciate that, even though I'm going to tell you my idea to go viral here in a minute. I go, because I know where Mike Postle plays. I said, I appreciate that. I said, but I want to do it genuinely. So I think on my way to Las Vegas, I am going to stop at a casino where I know Mr. Postle plays at a few times a week. And I'm going to go in there and just record and do a little, and I'll be, and whoever's with me, if I've got somebody traveling with me, initially I was going to talk to, the cook that we were going to hire, that I was going to be like, "Hey, you need to come in here like 20 minutes after I'm playing," and then just be like, "What the fuck is that, Mike Postle?" I'm like, "I'll give you a signal and I'll just record it, But yeah, I ended up finding out where he is actually playing. For any of our listeners or viewers who don't know, Mike Postle's the guy that allegedly cheated. He fucking cheated on Stone's Gambling Hall, or allegedly did. No, he did. By having software on his phone that gave him the RFID, the radio frequency identification device, so he knew what everybody's hands were. But yeah, apparently he's in a little podunk casino in Wisconsin. And
wow.
I don't know.
I'm
thinking right before the series, I go down there, I just play some Hold'em or PLO, and then I record him. And then I go, "Wait a second, aren't you fucking Mike Postle?" And then maybe I'll ask him if he wants to come on the fucking podcast and talk to people. I mean, he is human. Here's the thing. Who is it? Is it Jason Kuhn, the guy that multi-accounted for Poker Stars, who's got $50 million in Hendon Mob? I mean, this whole podcast, we've been talking about a lot of cheating, but Jason, I believe it's Jason Kuhn, right? Who's a known multi-account cheater from the early 2000s. And I don't care for Jason Kuhn at all. My opinion is kind of once a cheater, always a cheater. But I do believe in giving people second chances. And I will say that, Jason Kuhn obviously is a crusher. He wins a lot of tournaments and stuff like that. But me personally, anybody who fucking cheats in a tournament, go fuck yourself. But I don't think it would be bad for me to say, "Hey, do you want to talk to the world?" Or what Mike Postle should do is just come out and be like, "Yeah, I fucking cheated." I mean, once the statute of limitations ends up, I don't know how long that is from California to Wisconsin. But once the statute of limitations works out where he can't get sued, he should legitimately just come out and be like, "Yeah, I fucking cheated. I made mistakes, and now I'm going to try making amends for it," if he ever wanted to get back in poker. But I don't know if he ever, if he's playing 3 or 4 times a week, he obviously wants to get back into poker, right? So like, just start admitting that you cheated, open it up, tell people how you did it. You could probably be a vlogger and even say, "I cheated 120 some odd $1,000 out of people at Stone's Gambling Hall, and now I'm starting my vlog." And then, you know what? You and I both know, as long as you're getting the views and the clicks and the engagement, it don't fucking matter whether or not people like you or not. You're going to get paid. And so I'm going to see if I can go catch a little Mike Postle on camera.
That would be pretty cool.
See if that can go viral. Maybe if I just say, hey, why don't you do an interview with me for 30 minutes? And I'll just say, I believe you cheated. And I'm going to tell you that ahead of time before you do the interview. Like,
maybe
I'll
it's
just be honest with them.
Yeah, maybe it's been so long because this thing happened, what, 2021, 2022, maybe? So it's been
2019, I think. Wasn't it? Was
Oh,
it
wow.
2019 or 2021?
I don't
think
know,
it was
but
2019. I think it went on for 2 years, from 2019 to
Okay.
2021. And I might be wrong on that, but
yeah, because I'd imagine right after the whole story blew up, like he probably had a ton of inquiries about, hey, like, you know, come on my podcast, let's chat about it. But maybe now it's cooled off so much, and obviously going from California to Wisconsin, that's a pretty pretty big move. You know, yeah, I mean, so maybe it's cooled off enough that if you asked him, he would be, you know, willing to do it. So we'll see. I think that would be really cool if you were able to get him on the pod, and if he would admit to anything, or even if he wouldn't, probably still having him on would be pretty cool.
yeah, I'm gonna see what I can do. I know that sounds crazy, but yeah, and it's one of those things like if you live in the Midwest or like Upper Peninsula of Michigan, the furthest place in the United States is California, right? That's where my ex-wife went. You live in California and you're like, fuck, I want to just go in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Rural Wisconsin is definitely where you can go. So anybody out there who's playing in Wisconsin at any of the poker rooms, there is a gentleman by the name of Mike Postle who is rounding one of the casinos frequently. Like, he is a regular there. And I've talked to some of the players that have played with him, and they're like, yeah, he's a super nice guy. And I'm like, sure. I'm like, I'd be super nice too if I cheated people out of $100,000. You know, I mean, I'd do it with a smile on my face, but I don't cheat. I don't need to fucking cheat to beat people out of money. But yeah, it's just interesting. That is something that I think right before the series, get that could go viral. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, I agree.
Fingers crossed. What would you rather have? A Mike Postle interview that gets 1 million views, or a bracelet?
I'd rather have a bracelet, but because
I'm gonna go with 1 million views.
Are you? Well, it's different, right? 1 million views on a short is not the same as 1 million views in a long form content.
Well, I'm saying 1 million views on long form, because then you know you're going to get some subs out of that, and some people who are going to be like, holy shit, I can't believe this guy got that. So yeah, I would agree. 1 million views on a long form or a bracelet. I think 1 million views on a long form would give you a lot more monetary benefits than a single bracelet win. I don't know though. That's
you don't know. Yeah,
we don't know. Well, anything else you want to say before we wrap up, and tell everybody if they want to be a guest on our podcast to email us down below, or if they have any topics they want us to cover, or if there's anything you would like to add, Wayne, as we're wrapping up here, going into WSOP. We are going to broadcast. I don't know what our schedule is like in Vegas. I know I'm going to do a shitload of live content. I did that last year on my PLO Professor vlog, where I did like a 20 to 30 minute live episode every single day. I'm going to continue to do that. Maybe we can do that with the Suck It Up Man podcast and just bring it up every day at the same time. But yeah, we don't know. But in the meantime, yeah, we're going to be live every Wednesday until like the last Wednesday in May or so. And then after that, I'm not sure what our schedule is. But anything else you would like to add?
One thing I didn't get to earlier when you were talking about tournaments, most people, when they go to the series, if you haven't been there, you think, hey, there is just the series. That's all there is, right? But over the years, I mean, I think every year since I've been going the last 4 or 5 years, it seems like there's another casino that adds some kind of a tournament schedule going on during the series, right? And they do a pretty good job for the most part. Like, if the $1,500 Big O is on a Monday at the series, the Venetian and like the other people, they'll try to not do theirs, and maybe they'll do it the day before, or they'll wait till a couple days after. So they try not to like cannibalize the audience too much. So with all that being said, there are a lot of great tournaments that are non-WSOP, right? Especially if you're somebody like, I was talking to Jorge, who is a guy who plays in our club. He's going to be coming out, and he said, oh, I don't know about tournaments. And I was telling him that the Orleans is a really good place to really get your feet wet, because they do a lot of like $200 and like $300 and like $400 buy-in tournaments where you don't really get many of those at the series. I think the only ones that might be like $400 or $300 is maybe like the Colossus or like the Gladiator. But for the most part, you're paying like at least $600 to $1,000 per bullet at the series, which, as I could tell you, that will add up pretty quick, as I saw last year. So as we get closer to the series, you could definitely reach out to Josh and I, or go on to X. But there's a bunch of people that actually put together all of the tournament series into like one Google spreadsheet. So if you are planning on coming out to the series and you want to dip your feet into the tournament waters, it is good to get this spreadsheet so you can see like, hey, if I'm going to be there the 4th, 5th, and 6th, what are my options for that day, right? Like, of course, if there's a couple tournaments and you want to win a bracelet, that's cool. But winning 50K at Venetian or wherever else is still pretty cool. Maybe it doesn't get you the same recognition as winning, you know, a bracelet, but it's still pretty cool, and it's still $50,000, right? So I would say
when you get first and you get the money and you start walking around the casino and you start feeling, all right, I'm the king of the world. Who's going to blow me tonight? It doesn't matter whether it's first in a 50 and you win 50K or if it's first in 200K. Of course, I haven't won 200K, but I have, you know, done that 50K mark. So I will tell you, yeah, every time you win a tournament, you're like, I'm the greatest. Who's blowing me? And then you're like, oh, well, no one. Okay, great. Now I'm just going to go eat my steak, smoke my doob, have my scotch, and then go to sleep and wake up and wash, rinse, and repeat and do it all over again. But yeah. I will absolutely to add on to that. When you're thinking about tournaments, there is a lot of times more positive EV tournaments besides the WSOP. And the reason why, and Wayne, you and I talked about this as far as strategy last year, if the $1,500 Big O is on a Thursday, the Venetian will have like an $1,100 Big O on Sunday. And then same thing, the Orleans will have like a $300 Big O and things of that nature. So what you have to factor is where are all the grinders and the pros are going to be? Most of them are going to be in the bigger buy-in tournaments, right? Most of them are going to be in $1,500 or even $1,100 tournaments. But as you start filtering through these tournaments, sometimes you find out some of the best value tournaments might be like a $300, $400 buy-in at MGM or at the Orleans or at the Wynn, you know, and take a look at that. Yeah, there's definitely people that have the spreadsheet. If you go out to Vegas during the series, you can play a PLO tournament every day from May 27th until July 17th or 15th, whenever the series ends. You can play a PLO tournament every single day. I'm going to go out on a limb and say you can probably play a mixed game tournament or some variation of stud every day as well, or something to that effect, like either triple draw or stud. So if you don't like Hold'em and you're a mixed game player or a PLO player and you're like, I just want to play those tournaments, you can come to the series and play a lot of smaller buy-in tournaments. They're all over the place. But yeah, you really should focus on cash. And I agree with you, Wayne. I'm going to remind you, hey, yeah, there's a $300 Orleans, but what about the Big O at the Paris? What about the 125 Big O? Because the 125 Big O, like no limit Hold'em players track their hourly rate. And I watched a Hungry Horse video recently that had like 6 different poker players. You said you stopped watching mini vlogs. I watch fucking everybody. I watch DePaulo, I watch Rampage, I watch Mariano, and I watch them pretty religiously. And I don't watch all of them, but I'll watch like half of their video or I'll speed up a little bit. But I do watch them all. And yeah, it's one of those things where be more positive EV versus chasing the tournament. So you might get better value. But I was watching that Hungry Horse video where he did 6 different poker players and he was like, I'm going to guess their average hourly rate. And it was funny because I think the number one person who was like a 510 no limit Hold'em player, his average rate was like 102 an hour or $83 an hour or something like that. My average hourly at 125 Big O at the Paris was $180+ an hour. Like, what the fuck value am I going to get in any tournament that's going to give me that return? That's the question I fight. Like when I go and I play a $1,500, even a double board or a Big O, which I think I have clear edges and advantages in, as you said earlier, you know, PLO tournaments are or tournaments just in general are kind of a crapshoot. Like you can fucking do everything right. You can get down to the bubble. You can be 12, 14, 16 hours in, and then you get it all in because it's the right move with the right amount of big blinds and the jerky. And the next thing you know, you walk away with fucking nothing. And if you're like me and you look back and you go, holy fuck, I was making $180 an hour playing fucking 1-2-5. Like, there's no risk there. Like, I'm not going to lose $10,000 playing 1-2-5 Big O. I might lose 3,000 in a session, maybe even 4,000 in a session, but I'm not going to fucking lose 10 grand. But when you look at the overall picture and you go, wow, your average hourly on that is so good. If I go play a 10-hour tournament, I should profit $1,800 from that, right? So if I don't profit, that's opportunity loss. Like if I buy into a $1,500 tournament, I play for 10 hours and I lose. Not only did I lose the 1,500, I did not win the 1,800 had I won playing Big O. So now that's basically a $3,300 swing. See, these are the things you got to look at as a pro, because you start going there and you say, well, fuck, why would I do anything but this? And that was the same thing, like the 5,100 stud limit game, the stud 08 game, my average hourly was over $220 in that. It's like, why the fuck would I, like, those are the only two games I should play. I shouldn't do anything else. I should just play those two games and just be like, fuck it. I'm not even going to play PLO cash. I'll just play Big O and stud and just call it a day. And I don't know. I do like variety, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I think maybe that'll lead to a future episode where we can talk about all the pros and cons with cash versus tournaments. But last thing I'll say on tournaments is, you referenced it earlier, less is more. That's one of my favorite sayings. I tell people that all the time. But regarding tournaments, I know, like, especially a couple years ago, I was just kind of bracelet hunting, and I pretty much played everything. I played Badoogie. I played the Limit 08, the $1,500, which is always like one of the first events. And we have talked about this on the podcast. That is probably the hardest tournament, like mixed game tournament to make a deep run in, because you have all of the crushers playing that, because it has some extra prestige, right? Because Limit 08 is a game that a lot of people have played for years. So less is more, right? So like if you're going to the series and you're only going to be there for, I don't know, 5 days to a week or whatever, if you're a Big O player, like that's your best game, or like you're a PLO player, like I would literally look at like, okay, when is the best or the most concentration of that game that I'm the best in, right? If it's Big O, right, you're going to look, okay, cool, the $1,500 is June 6th, and I think they have the 10K maybe like a week after. So
June 13th,
June 13th. So you say, okay, cool. If I'm only going for a week, I'm literally getting there maybe the 5th. So you don't plan a travel day. You're ready for the next day. And then boom, you have that 13th. And then as we talked about, probably in there, you're going to have maybe the Venetian. They love doing this like $800 Big O, maybe with bounties. Maybe MGM, like, Paul won last year at MGM, like 27, 28 grand. So I would say less is more. Figure out what your best game is, because tournaments are a crapshoot. Even if you're playing, like you're a really good Big O player, you think you're, the best in the world, arguably, you're definitely up there, right? So even that, you do everything right, it might not go your way. You get in one big spot right towards the money, it doesn't go your way, you're out, right? So tournaments are a crapshoot anyway, but at least if you're going to play them, stick to your best game. Don't do what I did a couple of years ago where I just say, oh, well, I want to chase a bracelet, I'm going to play these fucking games I don't even know much about. I mean, I knew the games, but like it was definitely minus EV to play these with all the crushers versus why don't I just go to 1-2-5? Not to say I'm like the best cash game player ever, but over my lifetime, I win 2/3 of my cash sessions. If I know, hey, I win $80 an hour, like why not play that for 8 hours and boom, I have my next buy-in for whatever tournament I want to do. So just be smart, as you say, play smart, think smart, plan ahead. You don't want to just show up
and run like a god is what you're going to say. No.
Yeah. You don't want to just show up, like have a plan, right? I mean, like this is the biggest poker series of the whole year, right? Like some people, like we play poker all the time, but if you're Joe Schmo and you got a wife and 5 kids, like you probably can't leave the house all the time. So, you want to give yourself the best chance for success. So think about the best time to go based on the games. Find this Google spreadsheet. If you don't know where to find it, message us like a couple weeks before the series. We'll have it. We'll get it to you. And that way you can put yourself in the best position to succeed.
And one final thing I will say, especially on your video that you showed running it twice with only 6 outs. I think,
Which I never do, by the way. I never do, as you know.
Yeah, or a little few more outs because you could have gone runner full house. But I think your total equity on that hand there with 6 outs is somewhere around 18%, or let's just call it 20%, maybe that somewhere around there. Your odds of scooping both boards was 4%. I don't know if you knew that, but here's what I'm going to tell you. If you want to know how to calculate those odds tomorrow, and I'm going to give myself a little plug here on the PLO Professor YouTube channel, sure. I am posting why you should never, ever, ever, I shouldn't say ever, but why you shouldn't run it twice. Because I actually talk about the times when you should run it twice, but I do the actual calculations on the board. And I think a lot of people are going to be shocked because, like, when you hear poker players or poker pros, if you're in a cash game, for those of you who are listening, sometimes you can run it twice when you get it all in. And if so you get 2 different runouts, like 2 turns and 2 rivers. But I go over the actual numbers. And even if you have a 70% chance to scoop to win, and you end up running it twice, you're going to end up chopping it like 40% of the time. And that's just absurd to me. And I do all the numbers there. So yeah, if you guys are bored and you're like, should I ever run it twice? What are the numbers? Because most people, they tell themselves, and they'll tell me this on my vlogs, running it twice is the exact same odds. No, it's not. You can go from having 70% equity and you're literally going down to like 49 or 50% equity by running it twice, which means you're just giving away 20% equity. So I'm hoping that video takes off a little bit. It's a chalkboard video. I just finished editing it today and scheduled it for tomorrow. But yeah, if you guys want to be a guest on the podcast, or if you guys have any suggestions for us to cover, definitely email us down below. And I think that about wraps it up.
Yep. We'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.
Peace.